Hello and welcome back to Beards, Bourbon, and Games. I'm your co-host Mike, and with me is
Conquer Corey.
And we have another special guest again today. We have Muttnchop Piper.
Hello all.
And today we are reviewing Yedo. I think I said that right?
Correct.
All right, let's get into it.
So, the game that we're going to review today is called Yedo. I kickstarted this game about a year ago and received it about a month ago. And I brought it over for my friends and family, of course, to play and to see how they like the game. So one of the things I want to do first, explain to you what this game is about, where the game is set. So the back of the box, which is very convenient, gives you a little bit of information about this game. So here we go. It is the year 1605. Hidetada Takagawa succeeds his father as shogun. He rules the country from Yedo, the greatest city of Japan. The times are uncertain, with powerful clans maneuvering against each other in a silent conflict to gain favor with the shogun, or perhaps even replace him. As a clan leader, it is up to you to improve the position of your family, gain lasting fame and triumph in a struggle against your rivals, prove your wits and your mettle, and make the city of Yedo yours. Yedo Deluxe Master Set, which is the version we're going to be looking at, is a magnificent remake of a beloved strategy game introducing new and updated mechanisms based on years of community feedback, adorned with new art and lavish, highest quality components, a deep strategy game with many facets and paths to victory, which now has been expanded with included optional modules designed by the original authors of Yedo. Select your game length and the nature of player interaction, face off against other clans, or work together with your friends to strike down the shogun. Immerse yourself in 16th century Japan like never before. So,
I have to say I'm glad, once again, that you read that, because I would totally have messed that up.
I wasn't even going to attempt it.
So this is a reimagining, remake of a game that's already been out, right?
Correct. So, as you can see before you, this game does look like it's quite extensive. Looks like there's a lot to it. But let's take a look at, let's kind of break the board game down category by category, and you'll see where all this huge footprint really is an easy flowing, simplistic game.
I have to say that's one thing with this game. When we first pulled it out of the box, it took us a while to learn the rules, but once you got the rules down, the game just flows, like you said, very, very well. I think by turn 2 or turn 3, I kind of had a really good grasp on it. It's like, oh, this is what I do. This is how I do this game. It's actually not that hard, but there's just a lot of options and things you can do, which keep the game interesting.
Right. Corey is a new board gamer. He doesn't play a lot of board games. So can you tell us a little bit about how you felt after when you first looked at it and we started explaining the rules, and then how you felt about turn 3?
So when first reading the rules, and this is one thing I'll encourage other gamers, that if you're new to board games like myself and you try to get into this game, reading the rules will seem very intimidating. I did have that deer in headlights look to my face. I'm sure Mike probably saw me a couple times, but the great thing about this game though is while the rules sound very intimidating when you're reading through it, once you actually witness a turn flow, it's like riding a bike, and it just sticks with you. You know exactly what to do after the first round. You pretty much know what to do and how to move forward with the turn progression.
Yep, that sounds about right. Okay, so let's kind of start breaking it down. We've got some categories for you as to different things that we think that you, the board gamer, would be looking for in a game. Corey, what's the first thing that we're going to look at?
Difficulty.
Difficulty of this game. I personally would rate this game a difficulty of a 3 to learn. If you watched our last review, Arcanos, it was about a 2 because it was very easy to pick up very quick. This game is going to take you some time to learn, but once you learn it, it's very easy to go through the game. There's different time links in this game, to kind of depending on how long you want to play it, which is something that's really nice about it. Um, and you can play a short game, you can get through it quick. But after playing what we did, I feel like playing a long game wouldn't be any harder. It would just introduce more mechanics and make the game even better. So I'll give it a 3. What do you guys think?
Um, I would give it. I would give it a 4 for a new player. This, in my opinion, is not a gateway game unless you have experienced board gamers with you. If you've got experienced board gamers with you, and this is your first or second board game, then you're sort of kind of riding the train. You're waiting to see how they read the rules and see how they play the game. And once you see how simplistic, or how the flow, it's not simplistic, but it's the flow of the game is, as a new game player, you'll be able to kind of fall right in with it. But yes, for me, it's a solid 3. For if you're an experienced board gamer, yes, by far, this is a solid 3.
What do you think about that, Corey? You agree with that?
I would definitely agree with Mr. Popper here. It just, if I was surrounded by new board gamers, I probably would have struggled just a little bit more. But because I had experienced board gamers around me, I was able to pick up fast on the mechanics. Because the mechanics are quite simple. It's just, if you put that book in front of me and told me to read it, I would tell you there ain't no way.
It's a pretty thick book. It really is. And something that does make the game a little harder to learn too is that the game changes depending on how many players you have. There's a slightly different mechanics for 2 players as there is for 4, 3, 4, or 5 players.
And one thing I really do like is that they do, and we'll show this a little bit later, but they do give you cards for each player that does give you a good summary of each turn. So it is open to new players. You're learning. Just be sure to allow that extra time. If your whole table is new to this game, you're going to be reading that card quite a bit.
Right.
Until you get a good idea of how the turn. Like I would look it over. I looked it over a few times, but after probably, I'd say, my 3rd turn, I just stopped looking because I knew exactly what I wanted to do on my turn.
Right.
So, okay. So the next item on the category is length. Now I know the box says 60 to 120 minutes, so an hour, 2 hours. What do you guys think?
It took us 3 hours to play this board game the first time, and we played the 6th turn, which is supposed to be 60 minutes. The game took us 6 hours to play because we had to figure out where everything went.
3 hours.
Did I say 6
Yeah.
hours? My bad. 3 hours. It took us 4.
It's like 6 hours. Well, we lost half the people looking at this video.
It took us 48 hours to play this game. You could not have a life. This is only board games.
That's right.
It's been 48 years.
But it took us 3 hours to play this board game. The reason being is we got everything out. We all read through the rules together. We made sure people understood it. We asked questions. Corey was a new player. We wanted to make sure he was comfortable with the game before we just jumped into it. And he did really good at picking stuff up. After us playing a game, though, 60 minutes for a 6-turn game, could totally see that.
Right.
Everybody knows where everything goes. Everybody helps put everything out. Definitely could get through that in 60 minutes. And I like that different layers of it. Like I said before, you want 60 minutes, you take 6 turns. You want, I can't remember what the other different versions are, but up to 120 minutes, you got 2 hours to kill. Great. Play the 11-turn game.
Yeah.
It just gives you more stuff to do. What about you guys? What do you think? You think that's about right? Or?
Right.
I agree. Your first time is going to be a little bit longer than what's advertised on the box, naturally, just because you're learning the game. But now that I know the game, and if we were to start a new game right now, 6 turns, we would clock in around that hour mark. I'm
Right.
sure.
Right. And another thing that I would point out is that it depends on your group. It depends on the people that are in your group. If you've got one person or 2 people that are agonize over the decisions they need to make, because this game is full of decisions that you've got to make. So if they agonize over that, it's going to lengthen the game some. So if you've got a group of people that can pretty much get into a game and know what they want to do, and they do it right away, yes, the box is completely right. 60 minutes for a game sounds about right. But if you've got some of those people that kind of agonize over I don't know if we're to use this one or this one. Which one do I do? I don't know. It may take a little bit longer.
That's why I let Mike make all my decisions.
That's why you lost. I mean, you came in second.
Yes, you did.
Last.
Lastly second.
That's right.
So the next thing we're going to talk about is the aesthetics and quality of this game, which, in my opinion, is very high. Chris, what do you think?
It's a solid 4. This is a solid 4, or did we decide 5? I can't remember.
I think
Because it
4.
was close.
Well, yeah.
I think we said 4 because there are a couple of things. I mean, they are just minor. Even the cardboard pieces are. I mean, just look at the board. The board is painted well. It's got a lot of good detail. The cards are, I think they're linen finished, and they're very sturdy. So yeah, build quality for me is top notch.
I have to agree with that. I mean, just the game in general is just beautiful. The artwork is amazing. The cards, just as you go through them, they look good. They have some really, really neat stories on them. Each individual, these are actually missions, which we'll get into in a little bit, but each one has its own individual name. It has a story behind it that's written below it that is just really cool for the aspect of the game to get you into it, make you feel like, oh, hey, I'm actually trying to go after the Shogun. I'm actually trying to make myself more honorable, have more prestige in this world, which is what your points are, is your prestige points. But like even these meeples, the I always call these meeples, even the characters that you have, they're so nice. They got a real good gloss finish over them, so they don't crack or things don't break off of them.
And they've got the little characters on each side, so that's unique. I've not seen that in a board game in a while.
I would definitely, I would agree. I would give it a 4 as well. Just because I think the quality is definitely there, and it's probably, I rank it below wargaming quality, which is known to have very detailed models.
Right.
It's probably one of the more detailed tabletop games you'll ever play is wargaming.
Right.
Some Warhammer, BattleTech, a few others. So, and this is kind of puts me in mind right below it. I love the artwork on the cards. I love the map, like the Piper said, and it's a beautiful game aesthetically, and it's simple. It's simple but beautiful.
Right.
And that's always good.
And that's something else, like too. Like this is your player board. Everybody has one of these. Everything is cut out nicely. As you get weapons, which we'll explain later, as you get weapons, they have slots for them, and your maximum number of weapons you can have is 4. And there's 4 slots here. Same thing with earning the geishas, which are those tokens up there. There's a slot that makes them fit right in there. It just makes everything so easy. You can upgrade your house, which you can put stuff here to upgrade it. A spot for all your workers to stay, which are your meeples. Your cards that you have playing, your action cards, which are the cards you basically play all the time. Your bonus cards, which help you at the end of the game, and spots for your missions you complete. It's just all of that is right here, very nicely neat. As long as you have a table big enough to incorporate it, because this is a very big game. That may be one thing that holds me back from the 5. It is very, very big. This is actually a decent sized table that we play a lot of board games on, and even this is not enough to contain this game.
If you have a coffee table, or I'm sorry, a dinner table, a large dinner table that you sit down and have dinner at, or you have a gaming table, it'll fit fine.
Yeah.
But for a smaller table, you may have to make some concessions here and there and bring in some other aids to help you make sure you have enough room. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at is game mechanics. Now, some game mechanics are harder, some are easier. What category would you put this in, Mike?
I would put this game in, think about a 4 for this, personally, just because of how well the game flows after you learn it. Let me give you a quick rundown of how this game works, just to kind of show you how things would happen. So the nice thing about this game too, I think we talked about this before, is you have a nice cheat sheet here to kind of show you what order the game is in. So the game runs between 6, 9, or 11 turns, depending on what you're going to be playing. The first step is your preparation phase. You get one of those at the beginning of every phase. You move the turn tracker up. You set things up. Like right here is the church that you can, as one of your options you can steal from, you set money on. Preparation phase, you make sure you add money onto the church. If you have things that give you bonus money, this is when you get that. Then you go to what's called the bidding phase. Now, turn order is decided by, in the game, who has been Japan more recently, which is really weird because not everybody's going there. So most of the time, you're probably going to be rolling off on the dice. On our table, I had a trip a couple years ago, so I was the one who got to go first. So we started with me, and then it worked around the table. You can bid for action cards, which are cards you can play out of your hand to do effects. Bonus cards. Bonus cards will trigger at the end of the game that give you more points, more prestige, which is your track to win. Mm-hmm. The one here is you can draw 3 weapons out of the bag and keep one and discard the other 2. Here you can build basically annex buildings like dojos, things like that, to give you more, build up your tableau, as you would call it, to give you more discounts on buying weapons, discounts on other things, or special missions. Action. And they also help you complete missions. Geishas, which is the one we have selected here, that gives you points, and they also help you complete missions. Gain more workers, because you only start with 2, you can gain more, or buy missions. Those are your different options. So I am going to try to buy a geisha here. So as the first player, I put my token out there. I say I'm going to bid the minimum of 5, which is the cost there.
Okay, and I'll be the second player, and I decide, you know what, my missions don't require me to have a geisha, so I'm going to go ahead and pass to Corey.
And then I could decide that I don't want Mike to get a geisha because I want to obstruct him from completing his missions, so I could bid a higher amount. So he bid 5, I can turn around and tell Mike, well, I'm bidding 10.
And then you, as the auctioneer, the starting auction player, get one more chance to outbid him. But I may not have 11 because Corey bid 10. Or I may want to buy something else in the next phase. So I have to pass. Corey pays his amount, he wins. Now, the cool thing about the bid phase is if Corey wins something, he's out for the rest of the bidding phase. So he's already got his item for that time, and you place his marker there to indicate that I have won something. Since I did not win, it goes back to me. I pick something else. I pick missions. I put up my 3. It goes back and forth between me and Chris. Chris, do you want to bid?
I'd say, no, I'll do 4.
And he wins it. He goes there, and then I get to go it again. Now, if he doesn't decide to bid, I win that, and then it goes to the next player in the next turn, or in the next order, and they try to bid. After the bidding phase, we move on to the event phase. The event phase is very simple. All you're doing at that point is on the weapons and the market, you're getting rid of the right side 3, drawing 3 new ones, moving down the 2 that remain, and placing those 3 out there. That just keeps the weapons moving because you need weapons to complete missions, which we'll get into later. You also draw an event card. The event cards change the game. One of them is the turn order changes, which will really mess with you, especially if you have a plan. Some of the ones we have decreases the cost of weapons because there's an overstock. Each player draws 3 missions and then gets to keep them in your hand. There's all kinds of different things in here that help change the game up. After that, we get into the assigning phase. This is the phase from every worker placement game you've ever played. So now I want to talk a little bit about missions because that's where this is going to come important at. Mission cards help you get money. They help you get more victory points. They help you get a lot of things, actually. They have, of course, we talked about before, they have the title of the mission. They have the cool flavor text, which is really neat in this game. I really love the flavor text. It kind of helps basically get the game where you're living in it. So let's say each mission has a set of objectives you have to complete. It can be being in a district, which is what this one is. It can be having a geisha. It could be having a certain structure built into your tableau. It can be having blessed. It could be spending extra money. It could be anything. But say I'm trying to complete this specific one. As the first player turn, I will place my meeple or worker or gatherer, whatever it's called. And then Corey goes, he places one. And then Chris places one. And then I place one, and so forth until we run out of gatherers. Now, when you start the game, you get 2. You can buy more, like we talked about in the bid phase. You can also buy more here by spending 7 gold. And then once everything is placed, then you're done with that phase. And we get into what's a really cool phase called the Watch Patrol phase. That is what this guy is. This guy will arrest people from a zone that he's in. It basically just stops. It helps slow the game down somewhat. Because, say we're starting here, and we have these 2 workers. He moves here. He arrests these 2, which removes them.
No.
If you have more than 2 workers, these go back into the pile, and you have to buy them again. If you have less than 2 workers, they just go into your pile, and you do not get any of the bonuses off of that. Now, there are ways around that. There are action cards you can spend to stop that, make him go backwards, make him go forwards. So if you play somebody here and you're like, I know I have an action card to make him move, you can make him skip and go to these guys, and then the yellow would be safe. Or, at the beginning of the game, everybody gets 1 blackmail card. If you keep that card to the end of the game, you get 2 points. If you need the space and you need it now, you can give the blackmail card, and it saves you from having to be thrown to jail. So that's that phase. The phase after that is the trade phase. The trade phase, there are 2 zones. There is the, I don't know, eating place. I cannot remember the name of it off the top of my head.
This is the market, and that's the tavern.
Okay. So at the market and the tavern, if you are in the zone, so red and yellow are in here. Let's keep the thing with Corey being yellow. Since we were in the tavern together during the trade phase, we could trade. We can trade money. We can trade cards. I think it even says we can trade missions. Anything you want to trade, you can trade. You can trade your weapons. You can trade geishas away. It just gives another aspect of the game. Sometimes, like, I know we really wanted to trade something one time and we weren't in the same spot and we couldn't do it. So, but it helps get a leg up. Or if I really want that card really bad, Corey can be like, hey man, 25 gold.
Yeah. Actually, Corey did that with Mike's wife. She really wanted a card that he had, or it was a weapon, and she went all the way up to something ridiculous, and he said no. And I think some of it was because he wanted to use that for himself, but a little bit of it was, yeah, I want to screw you over and not let you have what you want. That's part of the game that's fun.
And then you get to the action phase. This is just where your meeples, or I keep calling them meeples because that's what I've always called them as. These are where your workers or your disciples, actually disciples is what they're called in this game, activate. You do one of 2 things. You can complete a mission in that zone, or you can complete an action in that zone, one or the other. I'm first player, I start. I have my worker here. I can either complete one of these actions. There's always ones that are buffed, like I can pay 7 to get another worker. If I don't already have 4, I can pay 2 victory points to gain money. There's always a free action here too, like this one, which will let me look at the top 3 cards of the action deck, rearrange them in any order I want them to be in. But I want to complete this mission because I want this 5 gold. Or Mon. So I say I'm going to activate this. I meet the requirements because I'm just in that zone. I take the worker, place him back in my home zone, and I gain my 5. And I've completed this, and it goes into here.
But wait a minute. You're not finished yet. At the bottom, there's a bonus level. And as you can see, nope, he does not have a meeple in the bonus area. So he does not get the bonus 5 mon. If he had a meeple or a disciple in that area, he would get the bonus.
Yep. And the bonuses are usually really good. Like, some of them are, oh, you had to spend 5 gold to get this objective to go off. You get that 5 gold back. Stuff like that. More points.
Let me say one other thing. Hold this card. Now, as you'll see, this has a green back. So hold it that way. There's also yellow cards. You might be seeing where we're going for here. See what it does. See how much it is increased. What you have to get. There's also red cards. And it's increased in difficulty even more. And then there's the dreaded black cards, which are, if you can complete a black card, you're better than any of us, because there's none of us that could do it.
Yeah.
But that's the difficulty ramp up in this game. is when you go to choose these different missions, you got to weigh what part of the game it's in and how difficult you want. The more difficult, the better the reward. So you kind of have to weigh that when you're playing the game.
Now, that was a lot. There was a lot to this game, and that's what we were talking about earlier. There is a lot to this game. It can be kind of hard to learn, but once you get that and you learn the game, it's very fun. That's why I'm giving it a 4. The game is so much fun. I had I'd say turn 3, we were really getting a good grasp on it. Turn 4, 5, and 6, no one had an issue. You're just flying through it because it just flows so well. The mechanics just fit and they work, and it has a step-by-step procedure. You just do it, and you know what you're doing, and you just go fast at it. I mean, you kind of already know where you want your meeples to go. You set them there. What do you think?
I agree. That super fun mechanics. Even my first time playing, I had a blast once I got into it. Another thing I want to talk about is the turn order. We're talking about mechanics, and a lot of games will punish you for going last.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's like, oh crap, I'm last. This game is interesting because I went last in our game, and while everybody else got to do things first, it opened me up to strategies because I could see it coming. A good example was when Mike was trying to, in the final stretch, get some people here to buy as many points as possible. I could see what was happening, and I sacrificed a worker just to block him from fulfilling his plan. And it definitely comes in handy in the bidding phase because I could just kind of sit back and watch people bid. I think there was a time that who was bidding?
Probably me.
I think it was Mike. Let's just say it's Mike because I like to mess with Mike. He was bidding for something, and I'm trying to remember exactly. I ran up his bid on purpose. I didn't need that item, and I knew by seeing his money how much money he had. So I knew where his limit was, and I could easily look at my money and go, I got money to burn. I'm just going to go ahead, and since he's already bid, I know what he really wants because he bid on it first. That's what he's needing. Okay, I'll run it up to exactly 1 mon over what you have. And there's nothing he can do about it. But it also has some trade-offs in that I had a plan in the final stretch that I needed a particular weapon. But Chris went right before me. So it was kind of like an adrenaline rush because each time a turn would tick, I'd be like, if someone moves in this spot, my whole plan is gone.
Yep.
And it got to the point where it got to Chris, and I was like, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to be able to pull off this master plan and just like impress everyone. And then Chris goes, I'm going to go ahead and buy that, which was the weapon I needed.
Yeah.
That forced me to sit back and rearrange my entire plan. So it's not all negative because I get the advantage of having the final say, essentially.
Yep.
But it can interrupt your planning. But if you don't like that, the great thing about this is there's actually spots in the game that, let's say if there's a 1 here, I can move my worker to a 1, and when I take that action, I can change what turn I go into. I can decide if I want to go first, second, or third, or fourth if there's 5 players. So you're not permanently stuck at your turn order. You can actually change it up, and there are events too that totally switches the turn order.
That's right.
So you're not stuck being last. If you don't like that you're last, you can change that, and that is amazing.
Yep, it's a very cool. And like you said, I was thinking about in the bidding phase. If you go last, if say me and Chris already have our 2 items selected, you have free reign of the board, and you get that item for the base cost, and no one's going to bid you up because you're the last one. Unlike me, who was going first, everyone was bidding me up because everybody hates me.
No, we don't. Well, yeah, we do. On the first turn, I had played this game solo because this game is so you can play it solo. So I kind of knew the layout a little bit where they didn't. So they started doing their bids, and I was the last person to bid. I think I was for some reason.
That was because he stopped me from buying a geisha.
That's
he
right.
Just
That's
wanted
right.
to stop me from doing something.
So one of the most important things is to get more workers, right? So everybody had gotten everything, but they had left the worker position open. So I went over and I said, okay, I want to get a worker. And usually, if you want a worker, it costs 7 in the gate district, or it costs something at 11. I can't remember. There's another one. No, it costs 7 here, or you could get bid up. Somebody could, you know, max out your bid. But at the time, everybody had gotten theirs, and it was my last. It was the last bid, and I got a worker for 3 mon instead of 7 mon or 10 mon or whatever you were gonna increase it to. But unfortunately, that was the last time that happened because everybody caught on. Oh no, you're not doing that again. But that again, it's fun because as you're going, you got a turn order, right? You get used to the turn order, and all of a sudden, a card comes up says reverse the turn order. Oh no! Now you've got to kind of rethink. How do I do? Oh no! I'm after you or before you, and you got to kind of rethink and re-strategize, and it's just so much fun how that twist and turns really kind of help make the game that much more enjoyable.
Oh yeah.
So, brings us on to our next section, replayability. I would give this a 5.
I would too. Reason being is I could see you playing through this game and every game being different. And not only that, on top of it, there is different modules that we didn't even play. That once you get a real good grasp on the game, you can add other mechanics and just completely change the game. It's definitely a game that you could get a lot of miles out of. It's definitely worth the time.
Yeah, I agree. It's a solid 5 for me as well. The modules are really cool because you swap cards in and out. You have different meeples or different things that can be added and subtracted from the game. So the replayability is infinite with this game.
So would you agree with the 5?
Yes, definitely 5.
I would too. I could definitely see this becoming a mainstay at a game night.
Yep.
So now comes the big question: can you get a hold of it? Availability and cost.
Yeah, they leave this one to me to let you down very hard. Okay, so the bad thing about this game is I kickstarted this game about a year ago, and it fulfilled about a month ago. So as of the recording of this game, or I'm sorry, this game review, I don't think it's very difficult to get a hold of this game. Mike, did you see it somewhere where you could get a hold of it?
You can buy this game. The only issue is that you're going to pay a pretty penny for it. eBay is going to have it about double the cost what the Kickstarter was. I found some websites that had some that were reasonable, about $120, $130. I don't know if those are in stock still or if those were gone. I think the Kickstarter was between $90 and $100 depending on what you got, which was an amazing deal for this quality of a game.
Right.
But it's out there, but you're not gonna be able to get it from retailers at this point. Are they planning to fix that?
Yes, I think the Deluxe Master Set. There were plans I saw to go to retail. Now, the bad thing right now in 2021 about retail or about board games and about most everything that's shipped by boat is very difficult right now because of the shipping problems they're having. So if they planned on this going to retail in 6 months, that may stretch out to a year. So just kind of keep this in mind. And if you see it one day, you go into a game store and you see it on the shelf, grab it up because you've looked at this review and you know how much we really enjoy this game. Another thing is they've got a different version of this game that you can obtain from Amazon. I checked it the other day. Not quite sure of the price, but it's a little bit lower quality. It was made back in 2019, correct?
No, it's way before that. That was the very first release.
Very first release, right? So if you're kind of itching to get your hands on it, just to see if you like to play it, you might want to get that one to try it out and see what you think. But I'm sorry that it's not going to be readily available right away, but I feel confident in the future you'll be able to get your hands on it.
Trust me, I want this game and I will find it. I'm coming for you. Well, gentlemen, would you recommend this game?
Yes. As a new board gamer, I would. And I don't play many board games. I do more video games than I do board games. But while it seemed intimidating getting into it with all the rules, once I saw the turn structure play out, it was just fantastic, and I was able to pick it up right away without any problems.
And I'd consider myself a mid-level board gamer. I've got some experience with board games, but I'm not an expert in any means. And yes, for me, it is a fantastic game. I would highly recommend it to anyone that would want it, because as a mid-level gamer, you understand, board gamer, you understand that every game takes a little bit of time to learn, but once you learn it, um, that's when you decide whether it's a game that is worthwhile or something that I don't think I'm not interested in doing this. This game, like Corey said and like Mike said, after the first couple rounds, the last 2 rounds, we were flying. We just knew exactly where to go. We were forming strategies. So yeah, it's for me, being a a mid-level gamer who's not played a lot of board games, but knows the territory. Yes, highly recommend it.
I wouldn't call myself an expert, but I play a lot of board games. I love them. Of course, I like people, unlike used to, and I would highly recommend it. This, if you have a regular game night, bring this to that. You guys won't regret it. This could be another one that is in your stash, just like we said in the last time, Arcanos. This could be one that you could have to be like, we don't know what we want to play. Oh, let's play a game of Yedo, because we know that's fun. Everybody knows the rules now. It's going to be, we have a time for 3 different time frames that we can play the game in. Let's do this. Very fun.
Well, that's all the time we have for this episode. Be sure to leave a comment down below. Let us know what you think. Do you have this game? Are you trying to get this game? And what are your thoughts if you do have it? If you like this video, be sure to smash that like button. If you want to see more content like this, feel free to check out our channel. And be sure to smash that subscribe button and enable that bell notification so Mike can send you more of these reviews during your workday. As always, I'm your co-host, Conqueror Corey.
And I'm Mike.
And I'm Chris.
And we'll see ya.